Word Balloon, celebrating 16 years of excellence for you.
Look at you with the fancy intros.
Thank you. Thank you. I've been working hard, buddy. It's the show has evolved. So I appreciate the comment. That's all right. Hey, everybody, it's Word Balloon Live, the comic book conversation show. John Suntress here. Erica Schultz is back. She was playing trivia with us last month, and now I got her back, and I'm so glad to talk to her. And seriously, very excited for you about this new book that you have started to kickstart. About halfway through your goal, The Deadliest Bouquet.
It's not an Alex Ross cover, but it is a Kevin Wada cover. So
it's a very impressive cover. Don't kid yourself. You know that.
Yes.
So congratulations on, hey, that's the front door. And I mean, seriously, that looks amazing. The art inside looks amazing, and we'll get into that. But tell me about The Deadliest Bouquet.
So in 1998, three estranged sisters trained by their Nazi hunting mom come together to solve their mom's murder and try not to kill each other in the process.
That's great.
Best log line I ever read.
Seriously, that's fantastic. I love it. And it's so funny. Another friend of mine is a novelist, and she was telling me that she's in the midst of a woman in their 20s, 90s story and stuff. So I've got the Kickstarter up. As I was looking.
I haven't refreshed in a couple of minutes, so don't freak me out.
No, it's good news. It's like I want to say 54% was the percentage. You're at 11,008, and you're looking for 20 grand. So yeah, you're doing good, and you got a month to go. So you're and man, hey, God bless you, kid. You're pounding the pavement. I mean, I saw, you're talking to Jimmy Aquino. You're talking to a lot of good comic book podcasters out there.
Yeah, I am doing every podcast known to man, woman, child, alien. Yeah. I'm it's funny because half of it is podcasts that I knew or people that I know knew. And then the other half is the fantastic editor, James Emmett, had hookups. So we have like a Google Doc that is just like podcasts and interviews, and I'm like, oh my God, my head's gonna explode. But it's absolutely necessary. You have to ask strangers for money. So
no, and that's excellent. And that's what social media is for, to get the word. And I'm so glad. And really, I do love that both crowdfunding and podcasting is really its own ecosystem. Yeah. And truly, and I'm sure these other shows would agree, that is the greatest compliment that I get from listeners, and I see it in their posts. I never would have thought, or I never would have heard about this book had I not seen it on Word Balloon, and now I bought it. And
and there's a democratization about it. There really is, and it's great in the sense that it allows people to really take a look at things and make a decision for themselves, as opposed to having, no shade to the big two, but I mean, it's like, there's only so much Spider-Man, Batman, Superman, whoever you want, X-Men and everything. So you want something different, you're obviously going to find it someplace else.
Well, and also two things. One, it's a big onus on the stores that do have to be careful about what they order, because they're the ones shelling out the upfront money.
Yeah.
So I understand that. And have you been going and talking to the stores that have supported your previous books?
Yes, I have spoken to retailers. I'm very lucky in the sense that the president of the Kubert School where I teach actually is also the owner of Dewey's Comic City. So Anthony, I will be hitting you up on Monday when I'm in for my classes.
That's great.
But yeah, I mean, I've been speaking with retailers. We actually have a retailer tier for the Kickstarter, and we have at least 3 backers on it already. So
that's great to hear. There's the Kickstarter URL for people that want it and stuff, and I can also put it in the chat eventually. I will do that. But no, it's great to hear. And yeah, I mean, again, this is how we have to juke in this COVID world that it seems like we're coming out of. I saw the news today. I'm fully vaccinated, and today actually is my 2-week grace period. So I'll still keep the mask around, and I'll still, for the comfort of others, if I find myself passing a group, or I'm sure stores, we'll see how quickly they pull it down. I mean, how can stores check, really?
Yeah, well, that's the thing. I mean, at least with like a smallpox vaccine, you can like lift up your arm and you have that scar. You don't really have that with the it's kind of the honor system. I mean, we've been in class, we've been in-person classes since September. So I mean, I've been masking up since September, and going, and then I get weekly COVID tests, but I've been fully vaccinated since mid-March.
Great.
And, at the same time, I mean, I still don't feel comfortable about going to conventions. So I'm not doing any conventions this year. But, I mean, I don't wear a mask if I'm in my backyard, but if, I'm going to have a conversation with my neighbor across the fence, I'm going to be a little farther away,
of course,
than they are. So, but, we'll see. We'll see. I haven't, seen my godson in, over a year. So maybe I'll go grab him and hug him.
I understand, the Sunday before Mother's Day was Greek Easter, or Eastern Orthodox Easter. So we all got together and we're all vaccinated, and it was great. And still we were outside, but, enough distance and stuff. And it really was like, oh, thank God, human contact. Yeah. So, and I hear you about the conventions. I'll probably do C2E2 December. It's my backyard.
Yeah, but I mean, just Chicago in December. I mean, what are they thinking?
Well, I know.
I mean, it's like penguins are going to show up, and, it'll be polar bears and all kinds of weird stuff.
Well, yeah, and the tri-state area, which I really do think obviously is the bulk of convention attendees, with the exception maybe of San Diego, obviously. Yeah, I think they're, well, and also they need to get back in business.
Yeah, that is true.
I'm so excited next spring. C2E2 is Reed. Next spring they're doing a Star Trek Chicago convention.
That'll be great.
I'm already calling my people like, I need to get on that list.
Yeah, excuse me. Yes, I will be part of that. You know what? I should ask my friend JK Woodward, who's one of the artists for Star Trek. I should find out if JK is going to that one.
God, I hope so. And again, another mutual friend that we haven't seen forever. Well, let's get back to...
JK was my San Diego roommate. So.
Oh, that's great. That's
terrific. Yeah. So.
Funny. God, I haven't, I hadn't, I'm trying to remember I think 2017 might have been the last one. I wasn't there last year, and I don't believe I was there in 2018. So it was either 2018 or 2017 was my last.
I want to say... I think it was 2019 was when JK and I were roommates. But yeah, we did the whole week in San Diego together, and I was like, we were about to kill each other toward the end, but
wow,
we made it through. We made it through because I had a good hotel room that had a balcony, so he could go outside and smoke on the balcony. So
that I understand. That's where I'd see him. I'd see him on the far side of the convention, outside on the steps, looking over where all the ships are docked and everything. And yeah, he was on the steps smoking a cigarette. It's like, dude. JK's
a good egg. He is.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. That's funny. All right. I got Deadliest Bouquet up. I can share it, the page on screen, because we can look at the nice art. And
Carola Borelli and Gab Contreras,
great stuff.
Bless them. Bless them.
So, all right. So there's the 11,008. Ooh. And then here we go. Here's the beginning of some of the art inside.
Yeah, we got character designs here. Carola did a great job designing the characters and really giving them each a very unique look. One of the things that I find interesting about ensemble stories is sometimes some of the characters tend to look too much alike. So everyone has sort of a different complexion, just slightly different complexion. And also everyone has their own look, their own sort of style. And this is 1998, so you've got a couple of different styles going. You've got Poppy, who looks like the mom. You've got Violet, who's obviously, kind of, the leather jackets and Doc Martens. And then you've got Rose, who's a little more, conservative the way she dresses. And Mom's a little sort of bohemian. But yeah, I mean, Carola did a great job designing the girls. And I'm just, I'm very, very lucky when it comes to getting comics teams together. I mean, with Marika Cresta for Forgotten Home and Matt Emmons, even starting out all the way in the beginning with Vicente Alcazar. I mean, I've always been very, very lucky to work with incredibly talented people. So yeah, I mean, I knock on wood, my luck won't run out on that.
I don't want to reveal any secrets.
Okay.
But truly, I appreciate when writers do find these exceptional artists that, in general, we haven't heard of. And then until they work with somebody we know. I mean, Jay Faber's always been like that. And Tim Seeley's always been like that. So yeah, I don't know if you want to, for aspiring artists, where to look. But I don't, it's like finding a fishing hole. And you don't want a dozen of fishermen coming in.
One thing that I will say to any writers that are looking for artists is definitely make sure that artists have sequential art samples. And any artists that are looking for work, make sure that your portfolio is not just pinups. You want to have sequential art samples, because even though you might be able to do a great cover, a great pinup, you have to be able to do the bulk of the work of the book.
Yeah.
So make sure that you have those in your portfolio. And for writers looking for artists, make sure that the artist that you choose isn't somebody who you just really like their work, that their work and their style is going to help the book. Because this is a real world story, it takes place in our world. If I had someone who was too cartoonish, it might not really work with this story. So I wanted someone who had a good realistic take, someone who did backgrounds, someone who could do very good acting on the faces of these characters. And Carola definitely does that. If it was more of like a children's book or something like that, then obviously going to a more cartoonish style would, Carola would not be the choice for a kid's book, because it's too realistic. So you got to really, find that sweet spot, because, making comics is kind of like making a sandwich. You start with the bread and then you want to just keep adding layers of awesome on top, so you want to start with a good script, and just add an artist that's going to elevate that, and a colorist that's going to really make the art pop more. And then, have a letterer that really works. And then, get a good editor who's going to, wrap the whole thing together. Yeah,
I absolutely. And you're right. I mean, again, as we said about the cover, that's the front door. But then, the artists are carrying the bulk of the story. And even on mostly on a subconscious level, you just have to be comfortable as you're reading it. I mean, I'm stating the obvious, but that's really how important it is, and finding the right artists and all. So I want to go back to the characters, because what can you tell us about the cast?
Okay, well, so these three sisters, Rose, Violet, and Poppy, they grew up in a very unorthodox household. So Jasmine's parents were part of the French Resistance in World War II. And after the war ended, they created this sort of cadre of former French resistance fighters and decided that they were going to travel the world and track down people who fled and bring them to justice. And Jasmine was raised in this sort of very strange, multilingual, multicultural, you know, moving all over the place kind of cloak and dagger environment with her brother. And then she and her brother start going on missions. So that's sort of the background behind everything. Right. When Jasmine comes to the US, gets married, has her 3 girls, she felt that she was going to sort of leave this, you know, different type of life behind, but a tragedy happens in the family. And that's what triggers her to decide that she's going to train her girls. Okay. So all 3 girls have very different personalities. Violet is a complete loose cannon. Poppy is very, she's a mom now. So she's, you know, has this sort of, I want to protect everybody. And Rose, being the oldest, is the one who is like, okay, I'm the responsible one, or I'm supposed to be the responsible one. I have to keep my sisters in line. And, you know, I've got to make sure that we solve this murder, we get everything done, and we can all get on with our lives after the fact. Hi, James. That's my fabulous editor, James. Hi, James.
Absolutely. Very nice.
My fabulous editor.
That's good. No. No, this honestly, it looks great. It sounds great. Were you a fan of, and I know we've talked movies before and stuff, Munich?
I was a fan of Munich. I thought that was really well done. I thought that I was also a fan of Boys from Brazil.
Sure,
so that's a bit of like kind of where this idea of, you know, these people having escaped and things like that and sort of setting up shop in other places. So I was a fan of Boys from Brazil, and that sort of was just like a little seed part of this. But I wanted to set it in the 90s for a couple of reasons. One, because I wanted to make sure that the timeline would track. I didn't want the girls to be too far removed from the World War II. So I had to sort of backtrack from that. And I even considered maybe doing like 1995, but 98 really was a nice sweet spot. Secondly, is when it comes to mysteries, it's really easy when you've got a computer in your pocket. And in some things you've seen, like you take a photograph of a fingerprint and automatically you get a hit. So I wanted the mystery of it to sort of draw out a little bit more, a little bit longer. So setting it in a time with a little less technology definitely helps with that. I was, finishing my junior year, going into my senior year in college in 1998. So it's, I remember it fondly. And, I was only, Violet's 24. So I was, almost 22 years old. So I was around the same age. So it's something that I, while writing it, I was able to really sort of communicate with the characters and really understand them because I was at that same age.
Did you have sisters?
I do. I have an older sister and I have an older brother. So I am one of 3. And there's a very strange dynamic when there's 3 kids because it's always this 2 ganging up on 1 and it'll turn on a dime. And, there is a hierarchy in every family. I mean, everybody knows that. And one of the things that sort of sucks for these sisters is that, Poppy and Violet left and sort of got themselves out of the hierarchy. And, Violet doing her own thing, Poppy having her family and doing her own thing, and Rose being able to be like, okay, I now don't have anybody that I need to worry about. I can live my life. And then when Jasmine dies and everyone snaps back, Rose is like, great, now I got to take care of my sisters. And Poppy's like, great, now I got my older sister telling me what to do, and I got my younger sister being a pain in the ass. And then Violet's like, now I've got to answer to these people when I haven't answered to anybody. So, yeah, there's the boiling up of resentment and sort of this sort of cauldron of, past sins that nobody's apologized for. And just really you think of weddings and funerals, like all the fights that happen there. It's that kind of thing.
Oh, yeah.
And then you throw in the fact that it wasn't just, it wasn't a death that, they saw coming. This was a traumatic experience. And they sort of all have to deal with their relationships with each other and also their relationships with their mom. And they're sort of reconciling that. It's a bit like Knives Out, but they're not rich. So like they don't have like they have this big old Victorian house that's falling apart, and they have a business, they have the flower shop, but it's not, they're not doing gangbusters.
Right. Okay. So it's not a front. I mean,
no. It's a legitimate flower shop. It is a legitimate flower shop.
I'm with you.
But I mean, they have a business, but they're by no means living like in the lap of luxury.
I understand.
But the idea of this murder mystery and the family drama is kind of Knives Out similar. So,
what city is the city identified?
So I call it North Jersey. I grew up in Bergen County, New Jersey, and around where I grew up, there's something called Tri-Town, which is Teaneck, Hackensack, and Englewood.
Okay.
So I said North Jersey because I didn't want anybody to be like, oh, wait, you're referencing, Englewood, Main Street, but really it should be that, I didn't want to deal with any of that bullshit.
Sure.
So I just, it's basically Tri-Town. So you're going to see, the Hackensack Midtown Bridge. You're going to see the Hackensack River, which separates Hackensack and Teaneck. You're going to see some, like a little bit from Englewood, a little Teaneck, a little Hackensack. And I didn't want anybody calling me out on that. So it's just called North Jersey. Okay.
And then also, I always, whenever my friends are writing mysteries or spy stories and they're set in a certain era, do you have a music playlist that you're going to throw out there for fans?
It's very funny because, you've got a little Temple of the Dog. You've got, obviously, you have Nirvana and Pearl Jam. You have Soundgarden. But then 98 is when you started getting some like Christina Aguilera, some Britney Spears, kind of like enthusiasm for the new millennium kind of thing.
Yep.
So yeah, we've got a little bit of that going on back and forth. And I think that Kevin Wada really covered that in the cover, this idea of this sort of angsty 90s, but also these like great big pop colors. And just the acting in the faces of the characters are just like amazing. I mean, Kevin's just fantastic.
No, I love it. I think it's awesome. And 98, I was working half the time at a sports talk station, but also at the rock station. We didn't play the pop stuff. We didn't, but we were certainly aware of it bubbling up, as you say.
Yeah.
And yeah. 98 was a really interesting year. I mean, there were a lot of intersections going on, and grunge was moving
grunge was moving a little. Like, it's funny because it was grunge in like 92, and then they started calling it alternative.
That's right.
Because it was like, I guess it was a little more palatable and a little more commercial if it was alternative rock as opposed to grunge rock. So, you've got like the new, and then you had Kurt Cobain's death.
Right.
So you had sort of like the, Nirvana, Hole, Pearl Jam, Soundgarden, sort of then coming over to a more alternative rock. And then you start going closer to, 2000, 98, 99, 2000 is when you get this like enthusiasm for the new millennium. Let's get this, let's rehash really like bubblegum pop, which 100%. Was Spice Girls, Christina Aguilera, Britney Spears, the Disney kids are now of an age, that kind of thing. And that's right. And so that's really where a lot of this sort of comes from. But then halfway in between, you have like something like Clueless, that's got, bright colors, LA kind of aesthetic. I basically said, I was like, this is the intersection of Clueless, Singles, and Law and Order.
Nice. That's excellent.
So if you can wrap your head around that,
that's right.
For like a little police procedural, grunge pop kind of thing going. So
I always love when someone mentions Singles, because then I get to mention that Jim True Frost or Forrest, because he was Jim True in high school. Was it Frost?
I think so.
Yeah, he was on Tremaine. He was on The Wire as well. He's the third couple. There's, you've
got Kira Sedgwick and
Cameron.
Yeah, Cameron. He's tall and thin. You've got Bridget Fonda and Matt Dillon.
Right. And then you got Jim.
Yes.
And I forget whose Jim's hookup was, but he was the one always saying, you know, I want life to be like a foreign film.
Yes.
And Jim's an awesome actor, and we were in high school together. He was younger than me, but really was like, we all knew he was the it kid that was going to really succeed. And I mean, he's just blown up. And that and Affliction, he's with James Coburn and Nick Nolte. That was another 90s movie that he made.
I saw that a million years ago. I'm going to have to.
I know, buddy.
I'm going to have to find that, but it's probably on like Hulu or Amazon or something that I can just.
Probably, but it is so weird. And especially as you get into the older movies.
Yeah.
It really bums me out because, I love classic Hollywood, and it really bums me out when like Universal creates Peacock, and it's like, great. They've got like literally 120 years of movies to show, and they got the obvious classics, but I'm like, no, I really want to see the program movies. I mean, Amazon does a pretty good job of that, and Tubi as well. Tubi is like the greatest streaming thing in the world if you can handle commercials, and a lot of people can't anymore.
That's the thing, is a lot of people can't handle commercials, and that's the problem. But I mean, having the commercials is just like watching it on TV at home, like when CBS used to play Star Wars or something like that. CBS. This is CBS did the greatest thing in the world when they would have the Sunday night movie. Okay, so they'd have the Muppet Show, and then they'd have at 7:30, and then you'd have the Sunday night movie. And in the lead up to Empire Strikes Back in the theaters, they were playing Star Wars like every other week. And that was like the best, most important thing, because then all the kids were saying, I want to go see this new movie, Empire Strikes Back. And they didn't have to worry about seeing Star Wars or being too young to have seen Star Wars because it was right after the Muppet Show.
Another good thing about those Sunday night movies was with Superman and Star Trek, the Wrath of Khan, where they added scenes in both cases. And so it really was an event. So that you could sit through you really thinking back, it's like, it was worth commercials to be able to see that,
What they showed when they showed Superman, it was closer to the Donner cut, because I have the Donner cut on DVD, but it was closer to the Donner cut when they showed it on network TV than it was what they showed in the theater.
Absolutely. They had that great scene of, and it was extended. There's a little nod to it when Clark's running with the train and Lois sees him as a kid.
Yeah.
But what you don't get in the theatrical one is Kirk Allen and Noel Neill, the 40s original film versions of Superman and Lois as Lois's parents. And it's like, oh my, and of course for us nerds, it's like, oh my God, look, it's Kirk Allen. It's Noel Neill. That's amazing.
And that's such a huge, kind of moment. Yeah. And you think about it, it's like not even 15 seconds, but it was that they just chopped it,
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's, you see, this is why we're talking. Excellent. That's very good. That's great. You had a Kickstarter a month earlier, right?
No, I didn't. Okay.
Or were you part of?
This is my mistake. All right. So we had everything set. James, my fantastic editor, we had everything set, and Erica was a toddler and pressed the wrong buttons and hit launch. And then it went off early, and I was like, and then
Was it for Deadliest?
Yeah, it was. It was for Deadliest Bouquet, and then I had to cancel it immediately, and then rebuild the page, and it was such a shit show. And then I was so embarrassed because a couple of the interviews were like, "Why did you cancel the Kickstarter?" I was like, "I didn't see." James just said, Yes, James. It is. I know that I was a toddler and I pressed too many buttons. I know. I'm sorry. I was so scared to hit that launch button on Tuesday. I was like, should I call him? Like, you're my security blanket, James. Seriously.
Is James your guru as far as Kickstarter and stuff? Because really, I and talking to the others that have, there you go. James says she was hyped. Well, sure. Well, no, man, I get it. Hey, I can only imagine the anxiety of getting this started. And that's why I mentioned, like, my friends who I know have advised others on Kickstarters are people like Jimmy Palmiotti and Ryan Brown and Greg Pak. They all really are. I always say Pak. I know it's Pak.
No, I believe it's Pak.
Is it Pak? Okay, good.
I believe so. Yeah. I mean, Greg actually has a fantastic book on his website,
Yes.
gregpock.com, about Kickstarter. And I always tell people, get that book, because that book is either going to scare you into not doing a Kickstarter, or it's going to empower you into doing a Kickstarter. James worked on several Kickstarters, I Am Hex, stuff for 451. So we had originally had a publisher involved. And unfortunately, COVID threw that into disarray.
Sure.
And then, you know, I had been working on this story for a couple of years and was having trouble really sort of breaking the through line. And James really helped me out with that. And once, and then when the publisher had to pull out, there was a part of me that was like, you know, maybe let's just see what this COVID thing happens and we'll just wait it out. But then there was another part of me that was like, you know, it took me forever to break this story with James. I just need to get it out now. So James was the one who suggested doing a Kickstarter and said, you know, let's do this. He plenty of experience on his end. Let's do this, and we can do it's totally doable. And instead of doing 5 Kickstarters for 5 individual issues, we're doing an OGN. So it's going to be 120 pages, and it's going to be, you know, 5 chapters. It's paced like a 5-issue series, but it's going to be in like 5 individual chapters.
Sure. No, that's I think that's great. It's been interesting hearing all the creators that have either juked to pure creator-owned stuff, and some of them have released them still as monthlies. But a lot of people are going straight to OGN. And, you know, I just talked to Declan Shalvey last week about that, and Ed Brubaker 2 weeks before that. And, you know, I mean, it's I don't blame you. And also, I know a lot of people are hesitant, and in fact had a different conversation with a different creator. And it's like, you know, I'm thinking about putting my thing out this month. And what do you think? I mean, there's a lot of them out there. And I'm like, yes, but I really think that if anything, the Kickstarter pool has gotten bigger because of those 6 weeks of Diamond, you know, shutting down, and then all the publishers saying pencils down, and it impacted every publisher. So yeah, no, and I think again, the scrappy creators. Okay,
we're scrappy.
You are scrappy. I know. It's like, yeah, I know. Old man saying, you're a bunch of scrappy kids.
Do you know how often I've been told I have moxie? So don't.
You totally have moxie, buddy.
Absolutely. I know.
First talk. I'm
the scrappy moxie kid.
Erica. This is good.
I'm the scrappy moxie kid, and I'm sure if my mom could figure out YouTube, she would be watching this, going, it was a pain in the ass growing up, you know, kind of thing. Yeah.
Well,
we saw her for Mother's Day, and it was the first time I had seen her for about a year, and I felt like Elmira. She's like hugging me tighter. It's like, I can't breathe. You know.
No, but I understand. That's terrific. Seriously, I get it. So yeah, and my heart broke for all my friends and what they had to do to, you know, keep their parents happy during this year.
Yes.
Yeah. Oof.
A lot of phone calls. I can't get the computer to work. Can you? And I'm like, I really wish you knew how to FaceTime, because I'm trying to like visualize what the desktop looks like at this moment. Yeah. Tech
I like
support.
That one commercial with the father and son, and it's like, you know, I forget how you pointed at your head. Is that your head? Yeah, the kid's just like beside himself, angry at his father. Yep. Yeah. No, I understand too much. God, if anything, too, reaching out to my creator friends that are older than me, and truly half of it is, and not to age them or anything, but some of them are older and stuff. They are like in their 70s or even. It's like, are you all right? I'm checking in. I want to make sure you're okay, because, you know, again, we're not on convention time where I might see them at least once a year face to face. So yeah,
I always call my mom, and I always say, I'm just calling to check up on you. She's like, I'm still alive. What do you want from me? And I'm like, well, you know, I mean, you got 2 cats and a dog. If I show up at your house and you're just like stumps of things because they've eaten you, then, you know,
God,
I don't want to clean that up.
Yvette Vickers, you know, Yvette Vickers, the old 50s actress. That's how she was found.
I know, and it's disgusting.
It is, and it's heartbreaking because, yeah, that poor little thing. Oh,
that's terrible. I always tell her her cats and dog are going to eat her, but you know, whatever.
The last senior citizen, because now I'm the youngest of my first cousins, but the oldest is in his early 70s, and his mother-in-law is still going at 95. And God bless the woman, but she's very nihilistic, and I love it. And in fact, I was telling my cousin, like, your mother-in-law is like Werner Herzog, because she literally is like, well, I'm 95, and if I am still alive in 5 years, I would like to plan for my death. And I'm like, well, if you want to speed up the clock, come live with me, because I'm Oscar Madison and you'll trip on something. And she laughed, which, thank God. Her daughter was looking at me like, what the hell? And my cousin's like, dumbass, don't say that. I'm like, she laughed. Come on. I'm kidding.
Look, that's the age where it's just, I don't give a shit about anything. I mean, my grandmother's 95. Her English was never terrific, but her English is like non-existent now. And, you know, and she's deaf. Aww, you know, it's like you call her on the phone and you're like, ciao, nonna, come stai? She's like, huh? It's like, it's Erica, you know, kind of thing. So, but yeah, I mean, at that point, it's just, they don't care. They don't care about anything.
No.
And she's got a cat, and I'm worried that she's going to trip over her own cat, because her cat's about as old as she is. So you got two old ladies living in an apartment together with a gas stove. God bless. You know?
Oh man, wow. Yeah, I hear you. No, and I get it, because she's still in her house and everything, and thankfully no pets, so that's good. But no, and she's going blind, and that's so she can't read, and it's the worst, and everything's shutting down. So I understand, but yeah, it is like, oh, you poor thing. God, I wish life were better for you right now.
Yeah, and at the same time, though, I mean, it's like, okay, well, you know, you've been here this long. How much longer you planning on sticking around? You know,
I used to have that conversation. My parents died young, but my dad's oldest sister really became my surrogate mother. And when I was living with her right out of college, and my parents died before I got into college, and you know, she was like 65 or whatever at the time. And I was living with her, and I got like, it's something occurred to me. I'm like, I don't know how much longer she's got. And I kind of got missing. She's like, what's the matter? And I'm like, well, I don't want to be intelligent, but you are older, and I don't know how much longer you got. And she leans it. She's like, I'm not going anywhere. And I'm like, all right. And I reminded her of that 30 years later when she was 95. She made it to 98. And I'm like, and you're still fucking here, Anita. What is your problem? I'm like, what else do you have to do? She was pounding the table laughing. She's like, that's so mean.
You know, it's funny because my dad's side, my grandmother lived to like 91.
That's great.
My mom's side, my grandmother's still alive. You know, so that's I don't terrific. Know. But knowing my luck, I'm gonna step off a curb and get hit by a bus.
No,
tomorrow.
Yeah.
No, but as long as the Kickstarter funds, I'll be fine.
Exactly. No, that's cool. What else? I mean, you know, now I want to get back to the Cupid School, because I don't think we talked about that before. How long have you been teaching over there?
I started actually last school year was my first school year teaching. So this is technically my second school year teaching. Next week's the last week of school. I am going to be doing some classes for summer session.
Okay.
And I teach, Cupid School is a 3-year school. So I teach second years and third years. I teach story adaptation for second years, and I teach writing for the third years. And it's, you know, it's interesting. I'm finally, you know, I kind of feel like I'm finally using my college degree, you know, 20 plus years later. But it's interesting because a lot of the students that are there are so sort of myopically focused on just doing the art that I don't think that they ever really see the side of writing. And I force them to write a 22-page script. Good. And it's where they, you know, think I'm the devil, but by the end of it, it all clicks. It's like, you know, it's a 5-week class that we do on scripting. And because we have the whole school year, but that's like 5-week lesson. And as they're going through, it's like, I hate this, you know, and, you know, and I keep saying, don't write your scripts that look like texts. You're not writing tweets. You're writing something professional, you know, capitalize sentences, use periods and question marks, you know, kind of thing. Sure. And then, but then at the end, they're like, wow, I did it. I'm like, yeah, you did it. And I have to do this 3 times a month, every single month. Could you imagine? You know, so I told them, if you never write a script ever again in your entire life ever, you've at least done it once. 100%. And you can at least understand what a writer has to go through to write a script.
Absolutely. No, and it's very important for both collaborators if it is purely writer artist, and even multiple artists, obviously. But no, to understand how the other half lives and has to live with what you're trying to accomplish. No, I understand, and it's good because God, what a baptism of fire teaching where you were doing it during the COVID year. I was teaching as well. I was teaching audio production at Columbia College here in Chicago, which is a great media school. But as others reminded me, and I don't know how it was in your class, because obviously Kubrick, they really do want to be obviously comic book artists. They want to come out of this. So
most of them do want to be comic book artists. Some of them are leaning more toward like game design or animation, but I would say the vast majority are looking for, sequential art, comic art. Yeah.
Okay. I didn't realize that the school it makes sense that they're doing game design and animation as well.
Yeah, we do animation, we do character design, we do advertising. I also have a background in I worked at an ad agency for 10 years. So I, and I say to them, look, comics are tough, but if you get the fundamentals of storytelling in general, it helps, because basically storyboarding a commercial, you're still telling a story. You're just telling a story to sell a product. Yeah. So we talk about that a lot, but we also talk about, what makes a good story. I even go the really hyper academic route, and we, do a lesson on Campbell and, the hero's journey and all of that stuff, not to sort of use that and be rigid, you have to hit the 17 points or anything like that, but to use it to be aware of it. So this way, when you're storytelling, you at least know the path that your story might take you.
What do you think of, and I've never asked, I should really ask more writers this question, but I bought Robert McKee's book Story, and really tried to pour over that. Yeah. What do you think of his, how much of experience and exposure have you had to his philosophy of storytelling?
I have never read a Robert McKee book ever. Okay. I know nothing about Robert McKee aside from the fact that he writes a lot of books about writing. I'm more of a doer, not a, philosopher of things. I will philosophize on things after I have done them. So no shade to McKee. I mean, he's very, man makes lots of money writing these books, and good for him.
And the seminars, I don't know if he's still doing seminars or whatever.
I mean, I know for a while he was doing something, but the only book that I've ever read on writing, or two books rather, there's one book called Dramatica that I was looking at, and I got about halfway through it because it was kind of like the anti-Campbell book. The anti-hero has 1,000 faces, and I wanted to look at another way of storytelling. And then I'm reading. A friend of mine told me that I should just start taking some of the IP that I've already had, M3, 12 Devils Dancing, Forgotten Home, and all of that, and start, developing that into screenplays. So I have Sid Field's screenplay that I'm reading, and that's less for storytelling and more for structure of the screenplay and everything. And I splurged and I got Final Draft for myself because it was on sale. Cool. But I will say to writers, don't use Final Draft for comic scripts, because the only way that you can output the comic script for your letterer would be as a PDF, and getting PDFs as a letterer is a real pain in the ass because formatting is all screwed up. So,
okay, well, that's a good tip.
Use Google Docs or MS Word or Pages.
Very cool. Interesting. No, and yeah, that's literally, I was wondering from a McKee standpoint, but also, as you say, with Sid Field's book, how close structure was to comic book structure. And I know that they're different, animals in terms of writing.
Yeah, well, I mean, a lot of it comes down to like pacing and stuff like that. Like comics are a nice happy medium between a novel's pacing and a film pacing. So for films, everything has to be in this very strict sort of 3-act structure where you've got your plot point 1 and your plot point 2 and that kind of thing. Comics can be different, obviously. I think there's more of an ebb and flow in comics as opposed to just the constant rise and then the denouement. So comics, I think the best way my husband put it, because my husband went to film school, and the best way that he put it was comics are the happy medium between the writer's script and the shooting script. So the one thing, though, that I will say to anybody who wants to write a comic and think that it's going to be proof of concept to be a film or a TV show or something like that, don't think like that. Write a comic to write a comic.
Yeah.
Write a comic to be a good comic. And that's, I mean, it would be wonderful if there was a 12 Devils Dancing streaming series or an M3 movie or, you know, a Forgotten Home anime. I would love all of that. But when I was writing the stories, I was writing them to be comics. And 12 Devils, I actually started writing as a TV series. And then when I stopped writing it as a TV series and I said, I'm going to make this a comic, I had to do a paradigm shift in my head. Because now that it's not going to be a streaming series, now I have to think about how am I going to pace it, you know, and how I'm going to put these homages to these little tidbits that I originally wrote for the series. How am I going to put that in the comic? So please, 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 if you want to write a comic, write a comic. Make it the best comic it is. And then think about it as a TV show or whatever.
Sure. Would you ever collaborate with your husband to develop some of your IPs into?
Oh, I would love to. There's actually.
Does he want to?
Well,
I'm asking.
He's a film and television editor.
Okay.
That by trade, he's a film and television
Outstanding.
editor, and he went to film school. He went to Newhouse actually.
Okay.
And so there are things that I've written specifically for film or television.
Okay.
So that's in one notebook. And then I have all the comic stuff in another couple notebooks kind of thing. So yes, we have talked about collaborating. All the videos, the motion comic videos that we've done for all the books, we've got a great video for 12 Devils Dancing. We've got a great video for M3 on YouTube. We had some great trailers for Forgotten Home. All of those he edited. So yeah, I mean, I just literally like stomp on my floor because his studio's right under mine. It's like, hey, I got another project for you.
Cool.
So yeah, I mean, there's a specific project that I brought up about a month ago that he's very interested in, and you know, once school is over and all my final grades are in and everything, and I've got a couple of weeks to take a deep breath and only stress about the Kickstarter, we'll look and talk about developing something a bit. Yeah.
Okay, I guess you just answered my next question, which was obviously running the Kickstarter and teaching. That's a lot on your plate. So I don't know what else might be coming out or whatever.
There's a series that I'm co-writing with a publisher that hasn't been announced yet.
Okay.
I'm lettering 4 series. I'm editing another book for Mad Cave, and I'm editing another indie series. On top of, I still have to finish the last chapter of, I have it all outlined, but I still need to finish writing the last chapter of Deadliest Bouquet.
Okay. Okay. Wow.
So, just, little things.
I think I only noticed, and I know that, we did stuff, Mainframe did stuff with Mad Cave on a couple shows last year. And if I forgot that you were associated with Mad Cave, it just occurred to me again today, just kind of covering my bases to talk today. So how long have you been with Mad Cave?
It's been a little over a year. It was about February, March of last year when they hired. It was myself, Steens, and Mike Mochio were the 3 new editors that were brought on. And Chris Sanchez, who's the editor-in-chief, is really terrific to work with. And both Steens and Mike are fantastic editors. And we've really gotten close in the sense that, like, we will, say, hey, I'm in this situation. Have you ever experienced that before? And, Mike is a writer and Steens is a creator as well. So we bring a lot of editorial experience, but also a lot of creator experience as well to the table.
Sure.
So, they're fantastic editors, and I love being a part of this group. And they're a lot of fun. And, we have sort of monthly, catch-up meetings, which is a lot of fun. And, the series that they've been working on, I'm really excited to see those. There's a series that Steen's actually edited called The Bountiful Garden. That is the first issue is going to be out for Free Comic Book Day. Oh, so nice. we're really excited about that. And I got a sneak peek, and they did a great job.
That's excellent.
Yeah.
Have you had time to watch any of the recent streamers of, you know, I mean,
I did see, okay, so I did see Falcon Winter Soldier. I did see WandaVision. I'm only 2 episodes in of Jupiter's Legacy.
So am I. Go on.
So I think it's very interesting because they're kind of combining Jupiter's Legacy and Jupiter's Circle. Yep. I read the comics. I read the first, I want to say, I think I read part of Jupiter's Circle, but I read all of Jupiter's Legacy. My husband, I think, only read 1 or 2 issues of Jupiter's Legacy. So we're having different experiences because I can see where they're diverting. And I'm kind of like, okay, well, now I'm going to see what they're going to do and how things are going to come back, or if they're going to wrap back around, and blah, blah, blah. I think it's interesting that they're showing these 2 converging situations where we're seeing the Samsons at, you know, in the 20s, and we're seeing the whole thing with the expedition, as well as, you know, everything that's going on with Brandon and Chloe and the union and everything. So, yeah.
I agree. And man, I'll tell you, it is, having talked to Mark about this, and especially even before and after he made the Netflix deal, I think it is so exciting that it's finally out. And yeah, I think you know, it's living up to expectations. I think it's great. And also I love, and I can say this too about Kirkman with Invincible on Amazon and stuff.
I haven't seen that yet.
All right. All I'm going to say is I appreciate the slight differences that are there because it needs to be its own experience. Otherwise, we're all just sitting here like, yeah. All right, get to the next part. Yeah, we know. And as much as I know, a lot of us nerds and comic book people, we like knowing what's going to happen. We absolutely like knowing.
Yeah, but at the same, you know, it's this weird sort of, you know, is this weird fine line that you have to really walk because it is a different medium, and you do have to do something different. You know, Joelle Jones, love her, and she just got the Lady Killer on Netflix. It's
very exciting.
You know. Yes. With Blake Lively. I'm so freaking happy about that because
Blake Lively's a great choice. That's really
because
cool.
I love Lady Killer. I love the series. And I'm really hoping to see more to see, like, because I've spoken to Joelle about it, and there's a lot that didn't make it into the book. And I really want to see more of that. So I hope that they explore that in the series as well. I mean, it has the opportunity to.
No, definitely. Have you? So, what did you think of Wanda and Falcon and Winter Soldier?
I thought WandaVision was really very interesting. I thought it was. Everybody keeps talking about how brave it was. I didn't think it was brave, you know, more or less. I just thought it was different, and I think it was interesting. Yeah. I know everybody was so pissed that Doctor Strange didn't show up, or Mr. Fantastic, or whatever. Like, come on, just enjoy it. Falcon Winter Soldier, I thought was really great too. I loved seeing them expand on Sam's character. I know a lot of people were a little upset because they felt that like Sam was a little too soft, but what they don't remember is that when we were introduced to Sam in the Winter Soldier film, he was he was a counselor, and in the comics he was a social worker. So that is very true to who the character is.
Yep.
I thought it was great to see his sister and nephews and really sort of flesh out him as a fully formed character. I also thought it was very interesting to see, you know, Bucky's arc. And, you know, Malcolm Spellman, I've been watching a bunch of interviews with him. I mean, he really had a very sort of singular vision for this. And I really like the way that it went. And at first I was thinking, oh, we were going to have a second season, but now we're going to do Captain America 4. So that's where they're going to sort of follow up with that. And it makes me wonder if there's because there's literally, you know, 1 season and then wrapped into the next film. So you had 1 season, WandaVision into Multiverse of Madness, 1 season of this into Captain America 4. I'm wondering if there's going to be now a Loki film or something like that. If that's going to sort of be the new trend.
Agreed. Or will it feed into the next Thor? I don't know. Yeah, you're right. No, you're right about that. And I hadn't thought of that. That's true. I just kind of accepted it as, well, they were going to do this anyway, you know, if the films were being released on schedule and everything. But no, I loved it. I love that they brought in the Isaiah Bradley stuff too.
Oh, yeah. And you know, nod to Young Avengers, because everybody's talking about Young Avengers, and you had Elijah. So you had Patriot there too.
Yep. No, it's going to be great, and I think, and also Carl Lumley was so perfect to pick for that. I got to finally meet him in the same way last year when we had the Justice League cast table read, and he couldn't have been cooler. And I had to ask him, and you might remember too. I'm like, tell me about the Mantis, that early '90s Fox show, and he's right because he's like, good pilot. I wish I could say the same thing about the series. And it's true. And, the pilot's on YouTube, so people should check it out if they're...
Good idea, poor execution.
Yeah. Yes. Well, and again, how many of TV shows, that's what's left on the side of the road. Or even more heartbreaking is when you have a great idea, great execution, just doesn't find its audience.
Yeah.
And they're those, gone too soon shows that, God, I loved... Nowhere Man from UPN, which was like almost a modern Prisoner in a lot of ways. And I'm so bummed that didn't make it beyond its one season. And I even got to, at San Diego, we're both going opposite directions, but I ran into Bruce Greenwood. And I'm like, you're an awesome Captain Pike, but I'm still pissed that Nowhere Man didn't get to finish his story. He's like, me too, man.
Yeah, but you know what? But he actually has been doing he voices Batman in Young Justice.
Yes. Oh God, no, he's great. His voice acting is terrific, and I'm a massive fan. That's true. Too funny. I'm trying to think of what else, Eric. I'm still way behind, even though they've been letting us watch streaming movies. I still haven't seen Harley Quinn. And Birds of Prey.
I haven't seen Harley Quinn yet. I haven't seen. I have Watchmen on my list. Watchmen's not the film, the series.
Yeah, the Regina King series. It's terrific. Terrific.
I have that on my list. I did watch the 4-hour Snyder cut.
Okay.
I will never get those 4 hours back.
I know. Hey, congratulations to the guy getting his movie his way made. That said, oh my God, I've watched ketchup pour from a bottle quicker than many of those action scenes. And I'm sure you were doing this as a much more accomplished storyteller. I'm like, okay, this would have been a really good 3-hour movie. It doesn't need to be a 4.
Yeah, it didn't need to be 4 hours. I thought there were some moments that were just so self-indulgent. And it was just like, we didn't need to linger on those, Scandinavian women singing that weird song for like another 7 minutes.
Hilarious.
I was like, what? Why is she... And she's like smelling his sweater. I was like, it smells like fish.
Yeah, exactly. I know. And I was thinking when they were singing, I'm like, this is like the twins in the Mothra movies singing and stuff.
So it was like weird and creepy. The other thing is that I think the tone was there was no consistent tone. There really wasn't. And there was just a lot of like weirdness. I don't understand why Steppenwolf's outfit, like, why it kept moving. It made no sense to me. If he's standing still, why is his armor like that was weird to me. But hey, I didn't get an extra $70 million to make a movie, so obviously I'm not one to talk. But
it did the job in terms of the audiences that wanted it is happy. And it.
Oh no, they're not, because now they want more stuff.
Well, that's true. Yes, I know. Well, I know. Well, I guess we'll see. I mean, that could. I'm sure they're looking at the balance sheet, and I found it interesting, and likely because the theaters mostly are still closed. But what was only supposed to be up there on HBO Max for a month is up there now, and I think still attracting
the black and white version.
What's that?
And there's a black and white version.
Yes.
Which I don't know what that gives it.
I know.
I also don't know, why did you have to do it in 4:3?
That everyone's wondering that. Exactly. I don't know. Maybe I don't know.
Are you releasing it on Instagram? Like, I don't get it. Like, I don't understand what the 4:3 thing was.
You're killing me. That was awesome. I don't disagree. And also just the way he makes movies, and it made sense for 300, and it made sense for his Watchmen, Snyder, being dreary and sad, but everything with him is dreary and sad. And I would tell my friends who are like, "It was all right." I'm like, look for a sunny day in a Zack Snyder movie. I'm like, they don't exist. They don't exist.
Well, I mean, in a certain way, it's almost like, Michael Bay kind of almost has that as well, where like everything's sort of dark, but no movie needs to be 4 hours. That James, no truer words have been spoken, my love. But the other thing is that, like, you think about, you know, Michael Bay does that whole thing where it's like everything is so the explosions and the lens flares and, you know, the mournfully billowing American flag in the background kind of thing. It's like, huh? You know, but, you know, these, look, from a production standpoint, they're made on time, on budget, and they make money. Okay, I get it from that standpoint. From an artistic standpoint, a lot of them are just garbage. But I know there's going to be, you know, I'm going to jump on Twitter and there might be, you know, screw you, you don't know anything about Snyder, blah, blah, whatever. I'm not attacking the person. I'm not attacking him as a person. I'm not attacking him as a creator. I just don't like what he's putting out, and that's fine. And I love Sucker Punch. I'll be honest. I love Sucker Punch.
Okay.
I think it's great. I think that one or two anchors back to the dream within a dream within a dream would have helped it. But visually, that movie slaps. Visually, it's great. Cool. But story-wise, it needs some help.
Well, that's kind of the thing. He really is I think even in Batman v Superman and Man of Steel, there are some really iconic moments. But those are the two prior. But again, I agree with you. I'm not crazy about him as a storyteller, but whatever.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of these things where you just sort of like, if you walk in with the expectation that there's not going to be a cohesive story and you just want to check your brain at the door, that's fine. I felt the same way about Tenet. Tenet was awesome to look at.
Still have to see Tenet. Go on.
Oh my God. Don't try and understand it.
Interesting.
Don't.
Wow.
Don't try and find a through line. None of it.
Interesting, because really, I mean, HBO's been showing the Batman trilogy, Nolan's Batman trilogy, and it's like those are great movies, and I'm so happy. I mean, people have their problems with Dark Knight Rises. I liked it.
I still haven't seen that one.
I liked it fine, and I really think it was nice to see that 8 years later that it holds up. And certainly Dark Knight is excellent. And I love Batman Returns. I think they're strong movies. And really, again, compared to what DC has done in the recent past, it's like those movies still hold up. And I liked Aquaman fine. I certainly loved the first Wonder Woman. I'll be honest, Wonder Woman 84, 20 minutes
haven't seen it yet.
I haven't. Well, 20 minutes in, my mind was wandering. And I'm like, if I'm not watching this, I'm not ready to watch it. And I never got back to it while it was up on HBO Max. And I'll see it, I'm sure, eventually. But
that's the thing is that I think with some of the characters, some of these characters in terms of Marvel, DC, whomever, some of them can hold their own simply based on the history that they have. And the story kind of tells itself. Others, you need a little work. And I think that, you know, with Justice League, I think that Snyder put in too much work. And I think it got to a point where it was just like, he got a little too much in his own head. And this is something that happens to creators all the time is you have a vision inside your head that you know so well that anything that you look at is shorthand in your head. But the mass audience doesn't have that insight. And because they don't have that insight, they're not connecting everything the way you connect it. Because for you, it's just immediate.
Yeah.
You know, and sometimes in some stories that connective tissue is missing. That connective tissue was completely missing in Tenet. Despite the over expositional scenes, it was missing. But to look at it is to just watch the back and forth and the artistry of the visual presentation is very cool. Okay. Just don't try and understand the story at all.
Very interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I like the tip. Very cool. Well, Eric, honestly, I is there anything that I'm missing in terms of that you want to, promote or put out there beyond Deadly Bouquet? Yes.
The Deadliest Bouquet is pretty much it. It's live on Kickstarter right now. We have fantastic tiers. You know, getting the book in print is obviously the most popular one, but we also have very cool sticker packs and a fantastic journal that you can get.
I'm so glad you mentioned that, Erica, because really I thought that was so cool that you're offering a journal. I think that's a great premium.
There's a fantastic company called Danique that I use to make a lot of journals. I made sketchbooks for Forgotten Home. Actually, it's right behind me.
Excellent. No problem. While she's doing that, I'm going to, so we can see it. There we go. Hold on.
I made Forgotten Home sketchbooks for the team.
Boom. Oh, that's great.
So I got a journal for myself made from Danique. So we're going to get these made with the Kevin Wada cover. And that's one of the, that's also one of the fabulous tiers that you can do. I'm also doing script reviews. That's another tier.
That's great.
So yeah, and we've gotten a couple of people already, a couple of retailers already pledged at the retailer award, which is great too.
Outstanding. That's great to hear. Deadliest Bouquet, everybody. The Kickstarter still has just over a month left, and they're halfway there. And there's the URL at the bottom, and I'll certainly have it in the description on the audio version of this episode of Word Balloon. But as always, great to see you, Erica. Congratulations. That's terrific. And I'm so excited for what you've got coming up. And when there's something new, you've always got, on your list of podcasts, don't forget me. And,
don't worry. You're closer to the top, John. Don't worry.
Oh, thanks, buddy. You're very nice. I appreciate that. That's very kind. So, yeah, everybody, Deadliest Bouquet. I'm going to show the cover one more time.
Fabulous Kevin Wada cover.
Absolutely. And amazing interior art as well. We saw it earlier in the video. So, can't recommend it enough. Congratulations on the project. And, James is saying, yay, awesome. So, yeah. Oh, no, we're doing you right, James. Don't worry. So, absolutely. It's my pleasure. So, thank you. And thank you, everybody, for watching and listening. And I should tease that later tonight, it's going to be To the Outer Limits. And we are about a third of the way of the final season. And, the second season wasn't as strong as the first season. And there are hits and misses. And there are hits. I mean, last week we did Demon with a Glass Hand, probably the best ever Outer Limits. I don't know your feeling. Were you an Outer Limits watcher, Erica?
We would watch that growing up.
Sure.
We would also watch. We watched all the old Twilight Zones. Amazing Stories. We watched those too.
Sure.
So yeah.
No, I hear you. That's cool. Well, that's why Gabe Hartman and I were like, everyone loves The Zone, and it gets its love and everything. Outer Limits, it's like it sometimes is compared as like a second to The Zone, and it's like it really was a different show.
It had a completely different vibe.
Yeah, and especially in that first season. Yeah. But we're doing 2 episodes today. We're doing Cry of Silence with Eddie Albert, which could almost be looked at as a prequel to Green Acres, because he's talking about buying a farm at some point, and essentially nature attacks him. That's the quickest 10-second elevator pitch.
But it's interesting that you said it could be a prequel.
Oh, there's some ironic
I haven't thought about that one. Okay.
Just ironic dialogue. And if you like flying killer frogs, you will not be disappointed. It is scary but true. And then the other one we're doing is Invisible Enemy, and that's amazing because Adam West and Ted Knight are both in this episode, and it's a second expedition to Mars because the first one went missing. And Adam West is the commander of the second mission. And
I remember that.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, it's fun.
I remember Adam West, and I remember being like, why is Batman in this?
Why is Batman an astronaut? Exactly. So no, it's really, they're fun, but they're not, these are not well-written episodes of television.
Yeah, but you take them as they are.
Oh, absolutely.
They have their place in history.
No question. And really, Gabe's just like, when we get to the shitty ones now of season 2, Gabe's like, all right, can we double up so we can wrap this thing up? And I'm like, yes, absolutely.
Wrap it up fast.
But because next week will be iRobot. So, and iRobot's terrific. Yeah. And Leonard Nimoy's in there, and, based on the stories of Asimov and Binder and everything. So, yeah, that's pretty cool. So that'll be fun. We'll have fun tonight. And I mean, really, we're just going to be laughing a lot at the ridiculousness of Cry of Silence and Invisible Enemy.
Hey, you got to have fun with it.
There you go. Now you're going to likely be asleep because it's going to start at 12:30 Eastern.
God, yes.
I know. Well, you see,
I'm going to be asleep in 20 minutes.
I know, buddy. James was worried that you were thirsty, and if you were, I apologize if I'm keeping you from drinking something. So truly,
James is so wonderful. He takes care of me. He's like, you got 33 days, Erica. We got to keep you alive.
Well, that's what I'm like in the head of it. You did it about 10 or 15 minutes ago. I'm like, should I wrap up? I'm like, he's probably messing.
No, because remember when we were doing the trivia, I was like, it's 10 o'clock, guys. I got to go and take my meds.
Well, that's the other thing, you poor thing. Absolutely. So
take your meds and go to bed.
That's true. That's true. No, and really, when we do a big trivia night out, I hope you'll come back and do that because I thought it was a lot of fun.
That was a lot of fun. Thank you so much.
My pleasure. Absolutely. Great talking to you. Everybody will reconvene in about 3 hours and 20 minutes. So until then, stay safe, stay happy.